Welcome to the Michael Singer podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jai Masters. What is the difference between reality and what you want? Because that gap is all of spirituality. That's all it's about. What is reality? The way I like to define it, so there's no argument, is that which already happened. Why is that reality? Because you ain't changing it. That's an absolute truth. There should be such a thing as absolute truth. Not my opinion, not fake news, not conspiracy theories, who can speak the loudest wins. No. If it already happened, it will never not have happened. That's a pretty solid way to define reality. That which already happened. Well, what is the other one? That which you want. That which I want to have happened. You laugh all you want. The gap between what you want to have happened and what happened is the cause of suffering. Period. If you want something to have happened and it did not happen, you will suffer. The degree of suffering is not dependent upon what happened. It's dependent on how much you didn't want it to have happened, or how much you wanted it to happen and it didn't. Everybody's got all this stuff about suffering. Why do people suffer? I just told you. You do not suffer because of what happened. You do not suffer because of what happened. What happened is an event that took place. It is because you didn't want it to happen, or you had wanted it to happen. That difference between the inner thought process, emotion process, the inner state that you have inside, that's what I want to have happened, something I made up. You must have made it up because it didn't happen. Okay? It's called mind. It's just amazing. Who said this way before me? Buddha. Whoa. I didn't do any deep Buddhist teachings. All right, I didn't study that. But the Four Noble Truths, they're pretty simple. And they just said what I just told you. Buddha, what's the first noble truth? All of life is suffering. Boy, that's negative. What kind of guy is that? I thought we're supposed to be positive. Wow, all of life is suffering. Well, you put it down. Maybe you can understand that people suffer. But he studied that. The Buddha is so great. You know, he was from a wealthy family. He was a prince. And he went outside. They had protected him with the walls of the castle so that he didn't have to see all the suffering, all the stuff that went on outside, all the mess and poverty and death and things, all right? But he left. He left a child, he left his wife, and he went out because he wanted to know, why do people suffer? It was that simple. Not who's God. Why do people suffer? And he starved himself and he went to the woods and he renounced everything. He did all the traditional methods of meditation, of kapasya, everything. And at some point, he was sitting under a banyan tree and he saw why they're suffering. In a millionth, billionth of a second, he became enlightened. And he went back to where all the monks were that were doing the traditional stuff and were laughing at him. And he said, I have found the cause of suffering. To which they said, well, we already know the cause of suffering. Death, old age, sickness. There are lots of causes of suffering. He said, no. There's one cause of suffering. And you understand, that's pretty deep for him to come back and say that. Imagine that in modern psychology, to sit there and say, everybody is suffering for the exact same reason. There's only one cause of suffering, and that's the second noble truth. All life is suffering. The cause of suffering is preference. Preference or desire, translate it any way you want, it's the same thing. I like the word preference, and you'll see why in a moment. What is a desire? A preference. If you have a preference strong enough, you have a desire. They're the same thing. Why do I like the translation of preference better? The word preference says any preference, not a strong preference, not a good preference, not a bad preference, not a socially unacceptable preference. Preference. All life is suffering. The cause of suffering is preference. That's what we just talked about. If an event happened and you don't want it to have happened, that's a preference. It's not the event. It's a preference you have about the event, and you will suffer. If an event doesn't happen and you preferred that it did, you will suffer. If you don't want to die, you will suffer. If you are afraid that your lover is not loyal to you, you have a preference. And that preference will generate jealousy. That preference will generate all kinds of disharmony, regardless of whether the person is loyal or not. Preference is the cause of all suffering. But we are so far away from that. Why? We literally worship our preferences. We don't worship God. We pray to God to give us our preferences. You put your preferences in front of God. If something happens that you prefer didn't happen, you say, how could God let this happen to me? Okay, I don't want to answer that. I don't want to talk about it. I want to ask you a question. Did something happen? Yes. Did you have a preference? Yes. Are you suffering? Yes. It's deep, isn't it? Who's willing to look at truth? The cause of suffering is preference. Is it not? What's the third noble truth? To end, now he's going to tell us how to end suffering. To end suffering, end preference. Wow, this is so far beyond the Western mind, it's incomprehensible. But isn't it true? Is it not true that if something happened and you were okay with it, doesn't mean you liked it. It doesn't mean you wanted it to happen. It means I accept reality. I accept that it happened. What's your choice? I don't accept that it happened. Wow, that's some powerful stuff. How do you not accept that what happened? I already told you, it can't not have happened. How real is spirituality? That's real spirituality. Not how can I attract to myself what I want? How can I get my preferences? Is there anything wrong with attracting what you want? No. Nothing. Don't you dare think I'm saying it's wrong. Go for it. And when you don't get what you want, you'll suffer. And if you get what you want and you change what you want, you'll suffer. Oh, why did I marry him? I could have stayed with George. Every single cause of every anxiety, all your tension, all your stress, all your problems are due to preference. Anybody want to listen? It's not easy to listen to it. It's not easy to listen. Why? Okay, now let's come down to humanness. Have you noticed that when you get what you want, you like it? Have you noticed that when you don't get what you want, you don't like it? Have you noticed when you get what you don't want, you really don't like it? Have you noticed that when you don't have to get what you don't want, you feel relieved? I call that the truth table, the quadrant. It's a 4-part truth table. Is it not true that that is your experience in life? And that is where your preferences come from. At any given moment, something happens in front of you. It happened. Okay, it's over. It happened. That's what's funny about the world. It's not a snapshot. It's a motion picture. It's constantly changing. How constant? Every single nanosecond, faster than that. It's always changing. Nothing's the same. And so basically, you come down to understanding that an event will unfold in front of you, true or not. Is there always an event unfolding in front of you? Events unfold in front of you. Is that okay with you? That depends on the quadrant. If it matched what I preferred, yes, it's okay with me. If it didn't, I don't like it. Do you have things you don't want to happen? Do you worry? See how everything, all emotions, all of humanness, that the Buddhist teaches us so deep, it's incomprehensible. We can't handle it. Why? It's too true. It's an absolute truth, and we don't do absolutes. So you sit there and realize that if I didn't have preferences, does that mean you don't have a life? No, I don't have preferences. I am willing to honor and respect the reality that unfolded in front of me. That's what it means to not have preferences. It doesn't mean to renounce. What's this whole thing about renunciation? Ready? In order to practice renunciation, you better have a preference that you're renouncing. See, it's not about renunciation. It's about, did it happen? Yeah. Do you like it? What's the difference? It happened. Whether I like it or not, it happened. Do you want it to have happened? It doesn't. Why am I answering you? Who am I to judge it? Who am I to say that it shouldn't have happened? Of course, I'm not going to sit there and say it should have happened. I'm going to tell you it had to happen. How do you like that? Put your thinking cap on. Is there an underlying law of creation called cause and effect? That one thing happens, does it affect the next thing that will happen? Yes. Okay. Then the event that happened is the result of what? All the causes that made it happen. I know I'm making you be a scientist here. Have I said a true statement? The thing that actually happened is the result of all the causes that made it happen. Okay. How many causes were there? Why? Because every cause had a cause. And every cause had a cause. You go back to the beginning of creation. And every single thing happened because of the cause that made it happen. And they're pretty complex, aren't they? So when you say, how could you do that? That shouldn't have happened. You're wrong. But it's not that it should have happened morally or socially or justly. Those are words we're making up. At some point you stop and you sit there and say, what is reality? And the easiest way to define reality is what already happened. Now the question is, can you accept that? Not to like it. That doesn't match your concepts or views or opinions or politics. It has nothing to do with that. We can go back to that in a minute. But do you understand? It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with it happened. It happened. All right? I'm going to take a touchy subject. Is there racism? Is there racism? Okay. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it good? Is it bad? Or just, is there racism? Yes. Can we start there? And racism doesn't mean black or white. They're anti-Semitic. They're this, they're that. They don't like Christians. Everybody don't like something. You understand that? So truth is it true? Is it there? If you start with that, you are way better off than starting with it shouldn't be. Why? Because it is. You have to start with reality. See how they match? And we don't match very well, do we? What we do is develop preferences. Why? Why do you have preferences? Because some things that happen make you feel good, some things happen make you feel bad, et cetera, et cetera. And you then define that as, you define your preferences as reality. And that gap between reality, what actually happened, and what you want to have happened is the cause of suffering. So if you don't want to suffer, and I don't want you to suffer, why? Do you understand what it means for you to be alive? It means there's a planet somewhere in the middle of nowheres, spinning around black empty space with men and women and animals and this and that and colors and shapes and words and thoughts and, oh my God, what a place. It's phenomenal. It's unbelievable. How often do you think like that? Never. Why? You're too busy thinking about your preferences. I don't like that color. I don't like what she said. I don't like what he's doing. I don't like what he didn't do. What are you doing? You're every single moment causing suffering. Why? Because you're saying my preferences are more important than reality. You know you're saying that. Do you understand that? Your preferences are more important than reality, aren't they? You devote your life to your preferences. And that is the human plight. How about we devote our lives to reality? Well, how does that fit into religion? Well, I don't know. I heard somebody once said, not my will, but thy will. What does that mean? Not my preferences, but reality. Doesn't it mean that? Isn't it funny to talk like this? No one will talk like this, all right? That's why I live in the middle of the woods. Right? But this is truth. You start with truth. Okay, but let's continue. Now, if I start with truth, and this is what happened, I don't have the right to say it shouldn't happen, because it is the result of all the causes that cause it to happen. So from a scientific point of view, it had to be. Morally, no. Justly, no. Do you understand that? It is the result of all the causes that cause it to be. I have to start with accepting that. I don't control the causes. It doesn't make any sense. What does make sense? Acceptance. What does that mean? You all misunderstand when I teach acceptance. You think it means let everything happen the way it is and don't do anything about it. No. That is not acceptance. Acceptance is I accept the reality that this took place. It's real. I'm a scientist. That is what the data showed. That is what's happening. It's real. And it's better than the data, because the data can be wrong. Reality can't be wrong. Reality cannot be wrong because it already happened. All right? I'm trying to give you some solid ground here. Okay, now what? Okay, I accept that it happened. What does that mean? I don't resist that it happened. I don't hate that it happened. I don't think it's wrong that it happened. I just see this happen. Okay, how are you doing in there? Well, I'm not suffering. So that was all about not suffering? Of course not. So here I am. I've accepted reality. Now what? What can I do about it? Of course there's a next step. You are part of the causes. You're part of the next cause. Are you not? Nobody said just sit there and let somebody slap. Now, when Christ said turn the other cheek, boy, look at that. I like Christ's teachings. I'm a nice Jewish yogi. I really like Christ's teachings. Let's look at turn the other cheek at a deeper level. Something happened that you don't like. You're suffering inside. What if I let go? Turn the other cheek inside. I let go of my resistance to the reality that took place. That's turning the other cheek. You're letting go of what would have made you fight reality inside. It's all inside. So you let go. You let go. Now what? Okay, I'm not suffering. I'm not freaking out. I'm not neurotic. I'm not throwing pots and pans all over the place. I'm at peace with the reality that exists. Now what? Do what you can to raise it as it moves past you. You don't do nothing. You don't sit there and say, someone stole my car. Oh, well, I don't have a car. No, someone stole your car. Are you okay with that? I better be, because it's gone. And so here you are, facing reality and accepting reality. Now what? Call the police, call the insurance company, do right action. That's the Buddhist right action. But right action is not, I can't handle it, so I'm going to decide what to do to make it so I feel better. That's not right action. You see the difference? And I guarantee you, rarely will it ever be the highest thing you could do in action that took place. When you're upset, you will not make good decisions. And if what's happened outside upsets you inside, you're in trouble. So acceptance means I accept that it took place. There. But if I say that, you get all upset. How can I accept that they killed 6 million Jews, right? And I'm Jewish. But basically, how can I accept that? Because it happened. I had a very, very deep rabbi that once told me, and very spiritual, deep, deep spiritual tradition, that his Rebbe, they were called Rebbes, the gurus, all right, the ancient Rebbes, told him, do not ever, ever get in a conversation about why the Holocaust took place. It happened. It did happen. Did it not? Okay, it happened. Now what? Okay, you have to accept even terrible things like that. It's a tough talk. You hear me? But aren't I right? What's your alternative? resist and suffer and make a mess and make everybody else a mess and make everything a mess. There's no good to it. There's no good to non-acceptance. What happens if I accept? I now am clear enough to see what I can do to help that it doesn't happen again. Very good. Not, I'm going to remember that it happened and never forget that it happened and never forgive you and never accept it. And where do you see what? We see a little bit of that going around, don't we? All right? Everywhere's, because that's the human reaction. The human reaction is, I don't accept it. I don't accept what happened. And now I'm going to go out there and attempt to manipulate life. In other words, ignore cause and effect. Ignore what would normally take place and not work with it in order to make it be what I decided it should be because I don't like it. I don't know if I've ever talked to you this straight. Do you see it? Then that is spirituality. The gap between your preferences and reality. And guess what the gap should be? 0. But that does not mean you don't act. You act out of clarity. You act out of peace. Like literally, if you're sitting there facing the event that took place and it's not holy, it's difficult. Your question is not, what can I do to make myself feel better? What can I do to get what I want out of this? It's how can I help? Do you hear the difference? How can I help? Help what? The whole thing. How can I help the person that was mistreated? How can I help the person who mistreated them? How can I help society? How can I help with the situation so I can raise the energy as it passes by me? That is the highest life you can live. All you can do is take the energy that's unfolding in front of you. You're not going to change it. Not from the past. I will honor it and respect reality and then see what I can do to raise it so that maybe it's a little bit better next time. And I don't do that by hating. And I don't do that by judging. So we are talking about spirituality. Isn't that neat? It's just right down to your inner state. That's how you interact with the outside world. From a point of view of peace, from a point of view of harmony, I'm going to bring harmony and peace into the world. How? By being in harmony and peace within myself. How? By not worshiping my preferences. We're not saying my preferences are God. What are your preferences based on? They can only be based on one thing, your past experiences. If you had a past experience and you had a nice relationship in the 6th grade and you remember he was blonde or redhead, you kind of like blondes and redheads. If his name was Plank, just I want to pick a name that no one has, right? And then you meet somebody that has that name. You like them 20 years later. Your past experiences came in and they were either pleasant or not pleasant. That's reality. It's down to Skinner's mice, condition response. They get water, they go try to get back there. They know where it is, all right? That's a basic instinct, it's a basic thing. Things come in and they feel comfortable. Things come in and they don't feel comfortable. It starts at the physical level. If I massage you nicely, you like that I touched you. If I massage you, deep, tight massage, you don't want to go back, okay? It's like things physically feel good and physically don't. So it starts there, doesn't it? And then you store those likes and dislikes, and then you notice that some people, you project it onto people. They did something. I read in a paper 3 years ago that somebody did something and my God, if they'd done it to me, I'd freak out. Now you don't like the person, you don't like the thing, you don't like the society. You build it inside, you build inside your mind, your preferences. If you had not read that article, you wouldn't have this preference. Your past experiences are programming you with your preferences. It's natural. It comes in, it feels good, it doesn't. You store what felt good. Now somebody's claiming they're not going to do what will make you feel good 3 years from now in the budget. And all of a sudden you don't like that politics, you don't like the budget, you don't like Congress. You project now mentally and emotionally. That started off as physically. All I can tell you is, have you had past experiences? Are some of them pleasant and some of them not? The ones that are really, really pleasant, do you remember them? The ones that are really, really not pleasant, do you keep them and suppress them and carry them around for the rest of your life? Okay, there. That's why you have preferences. And they're compounded on top of each other, and it's a big, complicated psychological mess. So everybody has had different experiences, have they not? Every single day you have unique experiences. It blows me away because no one will listen to me. If I'm having an experience, right now I'm having an experience. This guy is weird, things over his head, right? Sitting over there. And so I'm having an experience. No one is having the same experience I'm having. Not from the same angle, not with the same light, not to mention what I brought into the experience from me inside. And now I'm judging him. Oh, look, he's a saint. You hear me? So by the time you complex the whole thing, no one has ever had the same experience as you, even once. And no one ever will, because it won't happen again. So now you're out here every moment collecting unique experiences. What does that make you? Pretty unique. And also pretty weird. Because you ain't getting along with anybody. Because nobody agrees with you. They say they do. They say that. But how could anybody agree with you? They've all had different experiences. Have you noticed that you could be in a relationship and the person ends up not being exactly like you thought they were going to be? How could you do that? This is my favorite. How could you do that? I never could have done that. Of course not. You had totally different experiences your entire life than I did. And my experiences led me to do that. And your experiences can't even imagine why I would do that. Now, how do we all live together? 8.3 billion of us on the same planet every moment. Well, we don't do very well. Do we? Like, you have political views. Wonderful. Have political views and act on them. That's wonderful, right? Do you understand where they came from? Don't you dare think that you decided what your politics is. And I'm serious about any subject, even the deep ones that we all are fighting about. If you had had one different experience during your life about that subject, you would think differently. Is it okay? Is it okay people get divorced? Don't answer. Don't you dare. It all depends on your past experiences and what you were taught and what you've had. And let's say you're totally Catholic, you're never supposed to get divorced or anything like that, right? And your sister's married to this maniac, right, that's mistreating her and this kind of stuff. All of a sudden, they shouldn't tell you not to get divorced because divorce has a purpose, or the opposite. Do you understand that? All of your views, opinions, concepts, preferences, all of that is programmed in you based on your past experiences. And if you want to add in past lives, which I never do, oh my, are we different? I mean, that's some complicated, I don't think AI could figure it out, right? With a quantum computer, it's just not going to happen, right? So you are some serious stuff who's sitting there between your physically, what, 35 trillion living cells make up your body. They talk to each other. That alone blows you away. Okay? And then you add all this to it psychologically. You are a very interesting creature sitting there. Are you not? And of course you can't get along with anybody else. Why? Because you think you're right. I love talking to you. Do you think you're right? Do you think your views are right? Do you think you're right? But of course you think you're right. Somebody says to you, no, don't give me this. I know I'm right. I've experienced it personally. And that makes you right. One data point. Do you understand? Anything you ever experienced is statistically insignificant. Why? How many things were going on at the same time that you weren't experiencing while you're having that experience? 700 billion, zillion, trillion. You could have looked to the left, have a different, look to the right, different. It's so ridiculous that you think you're right because you had an experience. No, I know what I'm talking about. I've had the experience myself. Have you? No, then I'm right. No, you're not right. Do you understand that it's meaningless, the experiences you've had, compared to the experiences you didn't have? Anybody? Will they take a breath for a moment? And you think you know something, you don't know nothing. That's where humility comes from. That's what Ramdas said, becoming nobody. Not I feel depressed, I'm nobody. No, 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 no. I'm ecstatic, I'm nobody. I don't have to be anybody. I don't know anything. I can honor and respect everybody. I can love, right? It's not like you want to be somebody. Who's the somebody you want to be? Me. I want to be me. And I want people to like me. And I want people to be like me. Everybody has had different experiences, which means their psyche is programmed differently. Everyone, your husband, your wife, your children, every single thing. So the question is not how to make it be the way you want. The question is, how can I help? In the end, they say it all comes down to service. I don't want to be me. I don't want I did it my way. Because if I did it my way, you got hurt. I, me, mine, that's all that matters. All that matters is I. Well, what is the I? The sum of your learned experiences. That which you like, which you didn't like, and I'm serious about that, and I'm going to get my way. I don't care what I do, but I just get out of my way. We're having a nice talk today, aren't we? All right? What's nice about it is you don't have to suffer. You should not be suffering. You're a very great being, pure consciousness. That's who you are, divine consciousness, descended, drawn down into, distracted by, controlled by your thoughts, your emotions, your preferences, your hopes, your dreams, your concepts, your views, your opinions, then you are dangerous. Because the pure consciousness, divine consciousness, which is one with the whole, is everybody and is everything. But it's now focused, each ray of consciousness is focused on your thoughts. And they're different than everybody else's. Of course they are. They were programmed by your past experiences. How true is this? What does psychology say? Man is the sum of his learned experiences. Go study it. That's the basic, that's it. There's psychology. Man is the sum of his learned experiences. Okay? Well, you're not. You're the consciousness that is aware that your psyche is the sum of your learned experiences. Do you notice that you're screwed up? Answer me. Do you notice your thoughts are, I always tell it this way, is okay, we're going to Times Square. There's that giant ticker tape thing in Times Square, right? What we're going to do is hook a probe up to your mind, and every single thought that passes through your mind is coming up on that thing. Which one do you want to sign up? All right? It's pretty weird in there. Of course it's weird in there. It's the sum of your learned experiences. And guess what? Your experiences sometimes contradict each other. This happened, I liked it when I was young, and then I didn't like it when I was older, and I don't know which I want. You don't even know what you want. Have you ever changed your mind? Based on what? Which past experience I want to hang out with right now? Do you have trouble making decisions? Okay, I want this. Well, can you change your mind about a decision with one more piece of evidence? I want to go to Hawaii. Hey, man, Hawaii's unbelievable. I've seen things about my whole life, how beautiful it is, and so on, right? You turn on the TV, there's tornadoes going on. There's fire everywhere. Do you want to go to Hawaii? No. But change your mind. Doesn't take much, does it? One more experience. No wonder you're having trouble. No wonder you can't get along. No wonder. It makes sense, doesn't it? Be in love with somebody. Then go out and play tennis with a tennis pro. Put their arm around you. Does it happen? Now do you understand? This is right understanding. Now you understand. And so it's basically, yes, the divine consciousness is there, one with everything, but looking distracted by your thoughts, your opinions, your views, your emotions, and then you're being that. That's what ego is. Somebody once asked Yogananda, let's go all the way up, enlightened master. Master, what is ego? What Master said was, ready? The masquerading self. The masquerading self. What does masquerade mean? A mask, you put a mask on, in front of what? In front of God, in front of the self, in front of the omniscient one, and look through the mask. What do you see? You don't see God. Everything is seen through your mask, and you offer the mask to everybody. If I ask you, who are you? You tell me, I'm the one who played Dorothy in the 5th grade, and I'm the one that my father gave me a horse, and it died. That's not who you are. You know who you are. That's an experience you had. And you've taken these experiences and made your psyche the sum of your learned experiences. Wow, see? That's Psych 101, 102, 105. You have to go to school. You got it. You do, by the way. That is all of psychology. Now, what you do about it is another issue. So what we're talking about is, what if you understand that that's what's going on? And you stop sitting there saying, I'm right. I know I'm right. I know you think you're right. Of course you think you're right. If I take a certain amount of data and put it into the biggest, unbelievable computer and put it out there, it is going to come up with the same answer every single time for the question I asked it, because that's the data it has. If it's given a limited amount of data, it's going to analyze that data and, oh, it must be right. It's coming up with the same answer every time. It's the best computer possibly was. But is it the best data? Not even close, because you missed everything else. And you have missed everything else. Have you missed everything else? What does that mean? I like somebody who says, I don't want to miss anything. You miss everything all the time. Every moment you're experiencing something, you're missing all the rest, not just on earth. Everything going on everywhere. And you're sitting there saying you know something, and you know you're right. That's how you got preferences. Of course you prefer what you experienced that made you feel good. Of course you don't prefer what you experienced and made you feel bad. But the fact that you had no meaningful data is ridiculous. I know who's going to win the election. I asked her, she told me. Okay, but that's what you did. So what do I do about this? You let go of yourself. Well, then what do I have? Everything. You let go of yourself. Isn't that what spirituality teaches? Die to be reborn. Are you willing to let go of this psyche that you built over the course of your life that is a sum of nothing? You know what they call what you have in there? Statistically insignificant. I'm not trying to insult you. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. I want you to feel you're much bigger than that. You are not the sum of your learned experiences. You're the consciousness that's aware that your psyche is the sum of your learned experiences, aren't you? Do you notice why you think the way you think? Can you notice why you get upset by certain things? And you'll see your stuff will come back up. Does your old stuff come back up and bother you? That's the whole base of psychology. We've explained all of psychology in the terms of spirituality. So you are in there. You are not nothing. You are not statistically insignificant. Your psyche is, your thought patterns are, your preferences are, your concepts and views and opinions and hopes and dreams, all of them. Not my hopes and dreams. I thought they were spiritual. What do you hope? I hope that what I want will happen. I hope that it won't happen. I hope that nothing I want happens. Nobody says that. My hope is the projection of the sum of learned experiences happening the way I want. What are my dreams in life? That what I want and will take place. All right? Fine. Don't give them up. Just because I talk like this. Don't give up your hopes and dreams. Understand? You'll get depressed. Why? Because you'll fall into the sum of your learned experiences. Right? I don't want you to get depressed. What's depression? It'll never happen. Oh my God. Not, I shouldn't have it. No, it'll never happen. What I want will never happen. I know it won't. She doesn't love me anymore. I know. There. No. Hope that she'll love you. Go on. Hope you'll find somebody else. By all means, I'm serious. All right? You realize, I'd rather be liberated. That's what we call it. We call it liberation. Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul. What does that mean? It means I don't have this junk in my head binding me to myself. I'm liberated from myself. We're talking, that's deep spirituality. So where does all this lead? What do? I already told you. Events happen. What's the foundation of spirituality? An event took place. Can I handle that? And if your answer is no, you're going to suffer. And you're going to cause others to suffer. It's not going to be a pretty scene. An event happened. Can I handle it? I better be able to, because the alternative doesn't look like much fun. So yes, I can handle it. That doesn't mean you don't do anything about it. Life is an interactive sport. So don't read when I write about surrender and acceptance as meaning you just let everything happen. A drug dealer came up to me and said, "Hey man, you want some coke?" Well, Mickey said surrender. Don't judge. Accept. No. What acceptance means is, can I handle that happened? Can I handle that there are drug dealers out there peddling their stuff and ruining people's lives? I better be able to, because there are. How's that? So what do I do with it? I don't feel hate. I just, okay, this is reality. What can I do about it? Maybe the best thing I do about it is say, no, thank you, and walk by. Maybe I have a little talk. There are things you can do to raise what's going to happen, to raise what's going on. You are part of the causes that create the next effect, okay? But if you're upset and you can't handle what already happened, you're not a good input. Now all you care about is you. I didn't like that, and I can't handle what you said. So I'm going to make a mess. I'm going to not bring good energy into the situation because I couldn't handle the reality. Versus, this is the reality. Okay, let me study it. Let me understand about it. Now let's see what I can do to bring good energy, which you don't have in there if it didn't match what you want. So that's why this is the spiritual path. That's why all the great teachings. I think about Gandhi. You all know what happened to Gandhi. He was at a political rally and somebody shot him. That's terrible, right? But what happened after is just so amazing that it echoed through time. As he fell to the ground, he turned to that person and forgave him, looked right at him and issued pranam. I forgive you. All right? That's spiritual, isn't it? And that changed a lot. That changed people, that there's a person that could do that sort of thing, that raises the bar. Raise the bar. Don't lower it with your garbage. And that's what spirituality in the end ends up teaching you, the real spiritual teachings. And so we talked about the three noble truths. All life is suffering. The cause of suffering is preference. To end suffering, end preference. Then there's the Eightfold Path, which is how to get your act together to where you're able to walk into this world open. Open. I'm open. I understand. People use the word compassion. Compassion is not sympathy. Sympathy is, I understand, I'm with you. It is right down there in your stuff, sharing their stuff, which is wonderful. Compassion is not that. Compassion is, I went through that state of consciousness also, but now I'm clear. I don't judge. I understand why things are the way they are. I am not fighting them. I understand them. I come down with compassion, with deep understanding of why it doesn't have to be that way, but I understand why it is. I ain't fighting with anybody, but I'm helping everybody. That's what compassion does. It just basically says, how can I serve? All right. I did 30 years of prison work, and it was maximum security prison. It wasn't some light thing. All right. Death row was there. The chair was there. Everything. They were locked up for life. These are people that had experiences that led them to what they did. That's as simple as that. And you don't judge them. Then Christ said, when I was in prison, he came, and so Christ's teachings are so beautiful. Nobody does it. What happened to the teachings? He said, when I was in prison, you came to visit me. Didn't he? Do you know that? That's in the Bible. Ye without sin throw the first stone. It's like, what's being taught? Compassion. But they did wrong. I understand. You understand it bigger than the little person. You understand everything we just talked about. It leads you to compassion, doesn't it? You understand why everybody is the way they are. You understand why they're not the way you are. You understand why you're not getting what you want. Compassion is about understanding so deeply that your heart stays open. No matter what. No matter what. No matter what. But then you deal with it. You do what you can to raise the energy. That's a compassionate act. Okay. I hope you understand everything we talked about. Why? It changes you. It changes how you deal with people. It changes how you deal with yourself. It changes everything. You're basically saying consciousness is a phenomenal thing, and I'm conscious. It's what I'm conscious of that's the problem. And what I'm conscious of is me. That ego is everything. What do I like? What do I not like? Who do I like or not like? What I want to happen, what I not want to happen? What from the past did I not like that I'm still suppressing and holding inside of me? I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. It's just, it's okay because you got distracted by that stuff and you stored it, and now it either feels good or it feels bad. When something comes back up that happened in the past you don't like, you push it back down. You're just run by this stuff. And eventually you get to the point where you transcend. That's what the word transcendence means. You don't suppress. It's not about renouncing. It's about understanding so deeply that when it comes back up, you welcome it. I don't want that down there. I don't want to be the sum of my learned experiences. I want to be a liberated being. I want to be the consciousness. I want to be here now. That's the opposite of some of my learned experiences. I'm not going to carry that baggage with me. What is some of your learned experiences? Be there then. You're carrying all that junk inside of you. No, I want to be free to experience what I'm experiencing and raise everybody and everything that I possibly can because I'm open, I'm learning, and I'm growing. That's the spiritual state. How do you do that? You welcome what comes up and let's get it over with. There's stuff in there. It's making you think and act the way you think and act. Okay, let's get it out. How? Go down and get it? No, you don't have to go down and get it. You don't have to go down there and get it. It will get you. It's going to come right back up. Somebody can say one thing, they're going to wear certain clothes, they're going to do any single thing, and it hits that stuff and it starts coming back up. Have you noticed? And what you want to do is make sure it doesn't happen. No. What we want to do is honor its right to exist, its right to have happened, and its right to hit your stuff, and its right to come back up. It was stored with pain. It's coming back up with pain. You stored pain. That's why you stored it. You didn't want to deal with it. It's going to come back with pain. Can you handle it? That is another level of acceptance. First, we accepted the outside. That's reality. Now, can you accept the cleansing of the inside because you messed it up throughout your life? This is big. Liberation is a big thing. Yoga is a phenomenal teaching. The deep teachings are phenomenal. And notice they're Buddhist, they're Christian, they're everything. They're all teaching the same thing. So acceptance now, I'm glad we dealt with acceptance outside. You better, it happened. How about inside? I don't want to accept that. Well, you better because it's in there. You don't want it in there. And so it comes back up. What do? You breathe, you do yoga, you relax, you do mantra, you do affirmation. I don't care. But you do something to help it come back up. Ultimately, and I can almost remember the period of my life where I realized this, which was after many, many, many years. Ultimately, you welcome it. You take a totally different attitude. You say, I don't want that poison in me. That poison is the reason I've done everything messed up in my entire life. It's the whole reason I'm so egocentric, because I'm protecting myself and protecting everything that ever happened to me and how I look at things and everything. No, if I have one life to live, I ain't living it that way. You actually reach the point. It starts to come up. Of course, it's painful. But do you want to store that pain? Do you want to release that pain? That's your choice. Because you can be in there. The only one thing you do, you either accept it and honor it. And I said, you reach a point where you start welcoming it. You say, thank God this happened that caused this to come back up. Doesn't mean how I deal with it. But inside, I'm accepting that life brought this up so that it can cleanse. And you start seeing life as your friend. You hear me? Don't hit my stuff. Hit my stuff. Come and get it. Every single time you do that, you will get higher. Every single time you let go inside, you will not be carrying that much poison inside. And you just keep cleansing. Like I said, outside, as you're getting clean, you deal with the outside. You don't not deal with the outside. Don't ever think acceptance and surrender means you do not deal with the outside. You just deal with it from a place of clarity. You don't deal with it as a reaction to your stuff. And that's what we're doing all the time. Do you understand that? Okay. Thank you for listening. I really do honor that you're willing to listen at that level. Work on yourself. It's a lifetime journey. Somebody once said back in the 70s, early 70s, I read a line. It said, Earth is a place where souls are sent to evolve. How you doing? Jagrada.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.